how to edge the slits in the skirts or dresses. We're going to make a mock-up. These are the two pieces of fabric we'll be working with. Imagine this is the back of the skirt. First, we need to measure and mark 20 centimeters. This is how long the slit is going to be. Make a tiny notch here. Next, we need to double the edges with the interfacing material. These pieces are 1.5 centimeters wide and 22 centimeters long. They were cut on the grain as well. You can make the details a bit wider. The most important thing is that the interfacing material should be cut on the grain. Natalie is attaching the interfacing material to the edge. This is the technique we usually use when making dresses and skirts with the slits. Next, we're going to edge the details with the novolocker. Natalie is stitching the details with the novolocker. Do it after attaching the interfacing material. This is very important. Let's go to the sewing machine. Natalie is stitching the center back seam. The width of the seam is 1.5 centimeters. Stop stitching when you reach the pin, which marks the beginning of the slit. Fix the seam here. Let's go to the ironing desk. We need to press the seam open. When we do it, we'll show you what to do next. The center back seam should be pressed open. I remind you that before pressing the seams open, you need to iron them. Have a look here. You can tack the slit for ironing if you need to. We're not going to do it. It will be enough for us to pin the edges this way. As I've already said, you can tack the details if you need to. The seam should be of the same width. Natalie has pressed the seam open. What do we need to do next? We're going to use a grosgrain ribbon for doubling the seam. You can use some other material. Don't worry, we're going to show you how to do it very thoroughly. It is going to be attached this way. You should use the detail of the same color as the main fabric is. We're working with a white one for you to see everything clearly. Be very attentive. First, we need to decatize the detail we are working with. Natalie, let's go to the sewing machine. Have a look at the wrong side of the slit. Mark its beginning with a piece of chalk. Put the grosgrain ribbon right on the line and stitch it. Make sure that the seam matches the first one perfectly. This is very important. They have to be even. This is how the seam looks like here, and this is how it looks like from the other side. Next, we need to cut the extra piece of the grosgrain ribbon. After that, we need to cover the seam with the grosgrain ribbon and make a couple of seams here. Make sure that you cover the seam tight. This is very important. We've pinned the detail. And next we need to make two tiny seams here in order to fix it. Be very attentive. Stop stitching when you reach the center back seam. These seams should be pretty short. As I've already said, stop stitching when you reach the center back seam. Have a look here. This is how the seams look like now. Notice that Natalie stopped stitching before she reached the center back seam. Next, we need to do the same thing on the other side. Cover this edge with a grosgrain ribbon. The detail should be tight. We want this edge to be perfect as well. This is why first we need to cut the extra piece from the detail. Make sure that you don't cut too much. This is very important. The detail will be stitched this way. Have a look here. We've covered the second edge with the grosgrain ribbon and pinned it. We've also cut the extra piece of the detail. Next, we are going to stitch it. There's something I want to tell you. We are working with the grosgrain ribbon. It's cotton. If the one you're working with is synthetic, you do not necessarily have to stitch it this way. We are doing it in order to hide the edge inside. You can cut the extra piece after stitching and cinch the edge with a lighter. First, we need to stitch the detail this way. Make sure that you're stitching it at least close to the center back seam. The width of the seam should be about 1 millimeter. Be very attentive. Have a look here. Do you remember the way we stitched the first edge? In this case, the seam was made close to the center back seam. Next, we're going to make two more of such seams here. I remind you that the seam should be tiny. The seams are pretty short. Stop stitching when you reach the center back seam. If you stitch further, the seam will be seen on the right side.
Эта строчка уже вылезет у вас на лицевую сторону, поэтому нельзя этого допустить.
Please be very accurate and attentive. Make sure that all of the seams you make, both the vertical and horizontal ones, are not seen on the right side. The technique is pretty complicated, but it's very useful. This detail won't let the slit be damaged easily. This is how the stitch detail looks like now. If the grosgrain ribbon was of the same color as the fabric, the seams wouldn't be even seen. We use the detail of the bright color for you to see everything clearly. You can also make different decorative seams here, triangular ones for example. Use your imagination. The most important thing is that the beginning of the slit was made stronger. Next, we need to iron the stitch detail. Very nice. This is how the slit looks like now. You already know how to stitch the lining and how to edge the bottom. Natalie, would you mind if I fold it? This is the part which was made stronger. It will allow you getting in and out of the car or walking the stairs without any problems.
Вот, он уже укреплен.
This is a very useful technique. We haven't showed it to you before.
По лестнице. В общем, в любых таких ситуациях, когда обычно
We don't want you to break the slits in your dresses and
у вас
skirts.
он не порвется. Клеевой.
First, we need to do absolutely the same thing. We need to cut the interfacing material. The cut detail should be about 1.5 centimeters wide. Imagine this is the center back. We need to measure and mark 20 centimeters up from the bottom. This is how long the slit is going to be. The interfacing material should be cut on the grain. This is very important. It shouldn't stretch. Notice that the stripes of the interfacing are a bit longer than the slit is. They are about 22 centimeters long. Cut the details which are a bit wider than 1.5 centimeters and a bit longer than the slit is.
Длина разреза.
This is what always should be done first. The edges of the slit should be doubled with the interfacing material. This time we're going to show you how to make the slit stronger with the detail cut of the main fabric. What should you pay attention to? The detail should be cut on the lengthwise grain. It shouldn't stretch. Watch what we are doing.
Сейчас внимательно смотрите, как мы будем ее выкраивать.
This edge was cut on the lengthwise grain.
Нить. У нас может
You
быть
can make the detail as long as you want.
длинный кусочек. Какой небольшой
It should be about
кусочек у вас есть?
3.5 or 4 centimeters wide.
А вот ширина ее
This is
должна
pretty
быть
important.
3,5 сантиметра, 4.
The detail will be stitched to the wrong side. It's not going to be seen on the right side.
Будет внутри.
The technique is very useful. It can be used when you can't find a grosgrain ribbon of the needed color. Next, we need to edge the upper side of this detail with an overlocker. This is what Natalie is doing now. This is the only side which should be edged.
Обработать нужно один край, верхний.
Natalie is stitching the center back seam. The width of the seam is 1.5 centimeters. Stop stitching when you reach the beginning of the slit.
Делаем закрепку.
Natalie has stitched the center back seam. She's fixed the seam here. Next, we need to press it open. To do that, first we need to iron the seam.
Как всегда, мы утюжим сначала сам шов.
Watch the way Natalie is working. As I've already said in the previous video, you can tack the slit for ironing. Natalie is not going to do it.
Ткань податливая, это образец.
We are making a mock-up. I recommend you taking the seam for ironing. We need to be accurate. Next, we're going to show you how to stitch the cut detail to the slit. Please, be very attentive. First, we need to mark the beginning of the slit with a chalk. And then we need to draw one more line, about 5 or 7 millimeters higher.
Но самое главное сейчас отметить на 0,5-0,7
Be very attentive. Watch the way Natalie is working. You'll understand what it should be done for. Have a look at the cut detail once again. I remind you that it should be cut on the lengthwise grain. Pin it right to the upper line. It doesn't really matter how to place it. The extra details will be cut. Next, we need to stitch it. It should be stitched to the seam extension.
к припуску
The width of
шва.
the seam should be about 5 or 7 millimeters.
0,5-0,7 миллиметра от
Be very attentive.
отметки нашего разреза.
Stitch it to the first
С одной
side
стороны, и
and then
также
to the second
прикрепляем её
one.
с другой стороны. То есть
Please
основная
be very attentive. Stitch the detail just to the seam extension.
основное полотно
Make sure that you don't stitch the skirt
у вас
itself.
вот здесь. У вас здесь
This is crucial.
притачивается эта деталь только
Stop
к
stitching
припуску
when you
шва.
reach the center back seam.
Припуску шва. Со второй стороны точно так же. Не
Be very
заходя
attentive.
за шов. под
We're
центр
showing you
спины.
everything very
Центр
thoroughly.
спины. Сейчас с
Have a
изнаночной
look here.
стороны у нас
It looks as
выглядит,
if
что
there's
вот
just
это
one
вот
seam
у нас
here.
одна
But
строчка.
actually, these
На
are the
самом
two
деле
seams
мы
made on the
вот
same
этот
level.
кусочек отдельно притачали, и вот этот кусочек отдельно притачали. Сейчас
Next, we need to
отгибаем
fold the detail this
нашу
way
деталь
and pin it.
укрепляющую. Прикалываем.
We're going to make one more seam.
Практически то же самое.
It should be made absolutely the same way as the first one.
Горизонтальное укрепление.
Stop stitching when you reach the center back
Припуску на
seam.
шов. Делаем закрепку.
If you stitch further, the seam will be seen on the right side.
Точно так же, только до шва по центру спины. За него заходить
Please
нельзя,
be very accurate and attentive.
иначе он вылезет на лицевую сторону.
Next, we need to do the same thing on the other side. This is how the stitch detail looks like now. This is why I told you that it doesn't really matter how long to make it. We're going to cut the extra pieces. This is why we haven't edged the seam with a overlocker in advance. This is what we're going to do next. After that, we'll iron the seam.
Сейчас обметываем
Natalie is edging the center back seam with an overlocker together with the stitch
вместе с
detail.
нашей деталью укрепляющий разрез.
Let's go to the ironing desk.
Утюжим наш
Natalie is ironing the center back
шов
seam.
спинки вместе с укрепляющей деталью. Вот она
This is how the
получилась
stitch
такая
detail looks like
красивенькая,
now.
в цвет ткани,
It's made of the same fabric as the
из той же
skirt.
ткани, что и основная.
I think that it
И
looks pretty nice.
очень симпатично смотрится.
As you've already
Как
understood,
уже вы
this
поняли,
technique for
её
edging the
делать
slits
гораздо проще, чем
is
стрепсовые
easier than the
нити.
first one.
Поэтому вот
Anyway,
этот способ тоже
the
такой
both
очень
techniques are
удачный.
very useful.
Его
The
можно
second
также
one can
применять
also be
и на
used in the
тонких
thin
тканях.
fabrics.
Будет красиво. Вот такие
These
у нас
are the two
получились
mock-ups.
образцы.
We showed you the two ways for edging the slits in the skirt and
Два
dresses,
способа укрепления разреза с
using a
помощью
grosgrain ribbon
репсовой
or
линии
using a detail cut on the main
из той
fabric.
же ткани, выкроенной по долевой. Причем
The second technique is much easier than the first one.
гораздо проще, можно сказать,
The
чем
both
первый.
techniques will
Оба из
help
них
you prevent the
хорошо будет
slits from
держать
breaking.
форму вашего разреза и не дадут
The both
разрезу
slits in the
разорваться.
mock-ups were made stronger with the special details.
Держит. Что вот этот хорошо держит.
You can use the technique which you like better.
На обоих укрепляющие детали и закрепки.
I really hope that you find these tutorials useful.
Сделаете так же, как
Choose the
мы,
technique which you like better.
выберите для
We
себя,
want your skirts and dresses to be
удачный для вас
beautiful.
вариант, с каким вам легче
That's all
работать.
for today.
И у вас тоже будут
Let's be
красивые
different
разрезы,
and beautiful
которые никогда
together.
не порвутся.
We are working really hard to make it come true.
Ждите наши
We're Ira
следующие уроки
and Natalie.
технологии.
Subscribe
У
to
нас
this
еще
channel,
много что
write the
интересного
comments, share the
заготовлено.
videos, press the like and the bell buttons.
С вами
We
была
would really
Наталья,
appreciate your support.
Ирина и вся
Thank
наша
you.
команда.
Goodbye.